Hi guys, today we have with us Akshay Biyani. So Akshay, first of all I want to start with your story. Why being a CA? And CA means hell bent on finance and you don't want finance. So what is the story behind that? So because that's something which is shocking for me as well.
So with regards to that, I'd probably answer that while CA is an amazing course in itself, it predominantly focuses around finance, audit and taxation. But soon enough into my corporate journey, I cleared my CA in May 2016, post which I worked with EY into the fraud investigation and dispute services. I realized that there are certain aspects about a business which CA does not really teach you or prepare you for some, let's say something like a marketing, something like a supply chain operations aspect. So which is why I was very clear that now that I have done my CA, I do not really want to once again repeat into finance. And I have never really had the penchant or the interest for capital markets as such. So I don't really follow stock markets like most other CAs do. So I really knew that I wanted to get into the strategy aspect, and strategy execution, strategy formulation were two things that were on the top of my mind. So which is why doing an MBA made a lot more sense. And an MBA which is not just focused into finance.
Okay, great. So here comes the second question. Like CA, why MBA after CA? You already covered main part of that. So was the salary one of the main reason, or the profile offered for the main reason? What are the main reason why CAs are coming towards MBA?
So I think a lot of one of the main reasons why CAs are coming towards MBA is the generalist point of view that an MBA education provides to you, while CA becoming more of a, let's say, specialist role. MBA is more of a generalist role, and today to survive into the industry, you do not just really need finance knowledge. You need to be able to look at a problem with regards to all aspects. Let's say what is the marketing aspect, what is the operations aspect. So those were a few things that we did realize that okay, we really need to do these things. Mm-hmm. So I think that is why most of the chartered accountants are now moving towards an MBA after their CA.
The way I look at it, this CA is more of a postmortem thing. The murder have been done, who have killed, why they have killed, where to adjust things. That's what the CA role is. That's what I think. That's what my CA that is doing for me. And MBA finance is like murder kiska karna hai, whom to kill. So because whom to kill guy come into picture, the salaries are more, the profile is much better, and post-mortem ka role is more stagnant role. That's what I feel. So that's how I define MBA, why CAs are coming towards MBA.
That I get into an MBA program.
Okay. So consulting was the main thing which
motivated
you towards non-finance. Okay, now it makes sense. Everything makes sense. So when you started thinking about your MBA, which were the main colleges you were targeting?
So for me, with regards to colleges, I did have in mind the top colleges across India because I had a very decent profile. I'm also a state level cricketer. So when I started out, I did target probably the
IIMs, and Bajaj.
Yeah, so I did start with all of those. But then because I had dengue when I was preparing for CAT, I couldn't really study. Almost half, like the end of September and the first few weeks of October, I was in the hospital admitted and I couldn't really do really well in my CAT. I ended up scoring around 91 percentile. So yeah, that was that. And then I prepared for CET also. So during CET, I scored 99.4 percentile. But then when I was shortlisting colleges, I was very clear that I wanted to get into it for the education and not with the sole regards of what are the placements after 2 years. So that was one of the biggest criteria of shortlisting Bocconi as the college that I want to enroll myself into.
Okay. So if I talk about 91 in CAT with good profile, you might have got a few IIM calls and which you rejected, and then Bajaj obviously 99.4 pe JB nahi milega. So what was the state of mind at that time? The moment CET result is out, because CAT couldn't do well because of this thing. So there might be a low phase in life. Ke yaar ye kya ho raha hai life mein? So how you tackle with that? Because that's something people will hit. Most of students will hit that phase. The moment CAT is over, CET the hope. CET is over and scoring 90.4, you are nowhere in the top two colleges, JB, Sidnam nahi milega. So what was the state of mind at that time as a student, and how you come out of that?
So I think the state of mind was very clear because when I was shortlisting the colleges, I had in mind only 2 colleges.
At that time job was there?
No, so I was doing a PreMBA internship with another leading consulting firm. So at that point of time, I was very clear that if I'm getting into an MBA program, it has to be with the point of education. And the moment CAT results were out, I had started shortlisting as to what are the options. So when I did read about Bocconi, about the faculty flying in from Milan for every lecture, and the international standing of the college and the curriculum that is designed by Bocconi, I almost, at that point of time, I had it clear in my mind that if not the best college in Mumbai, which I could get through CET, I would probably end up at Bocconi. without keeping in mind the other colleges that are probably the options for other aspirants. So I was very clear with regards to that, and even during CAT I did not really target some other IIMs because I was very clear that okay, the education CA part is going to take care of the education, but if I really want case study based exposure and real life examples, then I need to get into a college where the curriculum is designed not in a way wherein you have to mug up things, but wherein you understand concepts and apply them in the real life scenarios.
Now I have a question here. Now you said the faculties are coming from abroad. So don't you think that might create a problem as well because you're not trained for the Indian environment? The way you said that the teaching style is not the same one, not same as the Indian style. So do you feel that might be a problem? Because as outsider, I feel that can be main problem.
Yeah, so that's a very important point that all aspirants need to keep in mind, that the faculty which is coming to teach us has been permanent faculty in Bocconi Asia Center since the past 8 years. So whatever teaching they give us, they make sure that it is tailored according to the Indian market. So when I have an international case study, they also in their presentations and in the way they teach us, they also include Indian examples. So that really becomes helpful because you have the international exposure also, and at the same time you also get the flavor of the Indian market. So let's say if there's a case study which is published by Harvard, if we are doing that case study, then the faculty makes sure that they have their research about the Indian market and they keep giving us examples from the Indian market. So that really helps.
So now if I take a step back, you were working in Ernst & Young when you resigned from the company and you did your PreMBA internship.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that? Is it easy for everyone to get that kind of internship, or you have to, what is the kind of what do you mean by that basically?
So with regards to that, probably Ernst & Young was a very good experience. I ended my tenure at Ernst & Young in July 2018.
2018, okay.
So that is when I had enrolled into another entrepreneurship course. I was preparing for my entrepreneurial journey, which did not really work out well. So at that point of time, I was focusing on two things at the same time, CAT and the venture. And then probably once again, once the results were out, once I had shortlisted the college that I wanted to get into, at that point of time, I started reaching out to a lot of my connections, which I had built over.
And that was when?
That started around February end. So end of February.
After the exams.
Yeah, after the exams, after the results were out, around end of February, I started reaching out to the corporates that okay, I am not going to be doing anything for the next 2 months till my college starts. And by that point of time, I was clear that I wanted to get into the strategy, formulation and execution part. So when I reached out to people, it was mostly regarding this, that I want to do this before my MBA, so that I have a better perspective of what are the things that I need to focus on in my MBA. So
okay, that's a very good idea. That's a very good advice to all the students as well, that before you join the college, you always have a 2-3 months gap. So if you can do kind of a pre-MBA internship, that can be a very good for the resume as well. Great. So then you took a break for MBA, right? You like in July onwards, you were on the break after Ernst & Young.
Not exactly a break, but I was also doing my entrepreneurial venture.
Okay.
So I was focusing on the idea that I had built upon while I was at Ernst & Young. So it was a combination of two things, wherein I had gotten my startup incubated at one of the incubation centers. I was working on that while I was preparing for my CAT. So it wasn't that I was only focusing on CAT or CET, which is a mistake that aspirants sometimes make. So what they do is they just spend around 18 hours studying the same repetitive concepts and probably burdening their mind with, let's say, repetition.
That was the first attempt at CAT.
Yeah, this was my first attempt in CAT. I hadn't taken CAT previously.
And okay, now we got exactly 2 months remaining for the CAT exam. So what do you think could be a good strategy plan, or how you did your studies?
So the strategy that I had in mind completely failed because I got sick and I was at the hospital. So, but with regards to the strategy that I had in mind was, you have 3 subjects largely in CAT. So I had completed 2 of the 3 subjects, and the first 15 days of the 2 months was, I had kept in mind that I'm going to complete the 3rd subject, and then the 45 odd days that I had planned to give around 60 mocks. 60 mocks.
Wow.
In the last 45 days, that was the idea, that every day you give 2 mocks, you analyze those mocks because you are almost complete with your preparation. It's only analyzing the mistakes and making sure that you don't repeat the same mistakes again. So that would be, in my mind, an ideal strategy for a student who's done with his preparation by the start of September.
Mm-hmm. And how many mocks you actually gave?
I actually ended up giving only around 25 mocks because of the...
And this is my guarantee this year to all my students, that 25 mocks is IIM call. And you are a live example of that, 25 mocks is IIM call.
Yeah.
Great. And now when you came to Bocconi, now you are admissions head here. So, placements head. So being a placement head, what kind of companies are coming on campus? Because that's one of the problem which I felt, that because it's an international brand. So obviously compare with IIMs and other top B schools. So do you feel that problem will be seen in the placements, or what are kind of companies coming on campus?
So I don't really think that it is a problem, because most of the brands that we work with or the brands that come for internships are brands that also go to the other top colleges in India. So let's
Can you
say
name a few companies who came last year on campus?
so there was this year we had AB InBev, we have Deloitte, we have the EY strategy wing which comes onto campus. You have ICICI, you have international brands like Luxottica and Ferrero. Ferrero does not go to any other college campus in India, but they come to us because of the Italian association that we have with them.
Okay, great.
So that really helps in a way.
The moment you have Deloitte and ICICI Bank on board, I think that's at par with any other top B school in the country.
Yeah.
Great. And so where you see yourself at the end of the program, at the end of MBA?
At the end of MBA, once again, the aim that I had in my mind was that I did want to get into strategy consulting. So that still remains the aim, that management consulting is what I'll end up doing after 2 years. And for that, we have a lot of courses that are designed by the professors, by the career development services team over here. So I'm sure I'd probably get what I want out of the 2 years.
And how many % of the people have got placed in consulting from the campus last year? Any idea? Any number?
So I think approximately 18 to 20% is what I think, but I'd probably have to go back to the reports and check and then come back.
I just want an odd number, because normally average, what I define a good B school, like for talk about IIM Bangalore have 40% consulting. So I'm ABC, all of them 40% consulting. Then all SPJ and Bajaj, they're around 20% consulting. So if Bocconi is having even 15% consulting, I think that's the top league, because I, being a consultant myself after my MBA, so I define a B school success from consulting. A marketing ka job kahin bhi milega from any B school, but getting a consulting job is a main thing. So with 20% placement in consulting, I think it's a big deal. It is a big thing.
So while I agree to your point, I also think that let's say if out of almost 50 to 60% of our batch is looking at marketing job roles. So then there are people who really come up with the mindset that that I only want to get into marketing. So for us, those students are never really interested into consulting, and the batch size that we have had across the years. So our super senior batch was only almost approximately 80 students. Then our senior batch is only 114 students. We are 169 students this batch. So I think a lot of consulting companies also keep that in mind before they visit a campus, is they require a particular size and a number of years that the institute has been in India before they can start visiting the campuses.
Okay, right.
So which is why it might be a factor that what you might see at other top colleges, it might take some time, but on an individual basis, we have seen that all our alumni have been able to get good roles at these consulting companies and have been doing well over there.
Great. And how seating helped you? You've been talking me about the recording. You used to see my videos. So what was that?
So for me, CET King started around January, at the beginning of January, when I was halfway through my CET preparation after CAT. And that is when I was looking for videos as to how should I modulate my strategy for CET as opposed to my strategy for CAT. So I did go through a few videos of CET King, and then I decided that that these are certain strategies that I could implement for my CET preparation and the exam that I give eventually in the end of Jan.
तो भाई टॉपर लोग भी हमारे वीडियो फॉलो करते हैं, so do subscribe to the channel. So and thank you for coming today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.